I started talking because of that. So like it still counts. You done? I don't know, it's really nice to see someone who is very content with herself and is like understands. I don't know how to, I don't know what I'm saying. Hello, I hope this lighting is okay because I don't feel like getting my lighting out and everything. Like do you see the shadow? What if I went like this? Is that better? That's better. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links. So haha, I was so close. I was so close. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with all of the romances. So as I'm sure you could tell by the title of this video, we are doing episode 2, part 2 of my Booktube Made Me series, which is one that I started last year, where I do kind of like a secret TBR of sorts, a themed TBR vlog, reading specific books that I bought because of a specific booktuber. Well, this one is, I'm kind of like, so technically this one's not a booktuber, this is my lovely friend Taylor, she's actually a bookstagrammer. So, I mean, I say booktube, but I'm like counting booktube as like the entire bookternet because like a lot of people, and like including myself, have multiple platforms. But with that little kind of disclaimer out of the way, I'm doing my friend Taylor and I'm so freaking excited. So I might be a bit crazy because in this video I'm gonna try to read 5 books. We'll see if this happens. I'm gonna read 4 for sure, and then 1 is kind of a maybe. We'll see if I can fit it in depending on how long it takes me to read all of them. But I do have all of them on audio, so I should be able to get through them no problem. And it's currently Friday, and I plan on starting the first one probably tomorrow sometime. And I think I'm gonna be working from home, so I'll be able to kind of like dive in and out of it. So we'll see over the next few days. But I do have 5. They're all romances and I'm very excited about all of them. I mean, obviously I bought them or picked them up because of this individual person. So let's just get to it. So when it comes to like reading tastes, Taylor and I are almost identical in how we like the things that we like to read. Like the last video I did in this, or the first video I did in this series, was actually from Frolic Through Fiction. And while she and I have a lot of similar tastes on very like specific things, there are some overall things that we don't agree on, or like tastes that we don't like agree on. Whereas Taylor and I, if we're reading something, we're gonna like it. There's a couple of things, but like beyond those little things, mostly, and honestly anything she sends me is like, you should read this, and it immediately goes on my TBR, like without fail. So I have, like I said, 5 books to talk to you about today, and I think weirdly enough all of them are contemporary, which is odd because we buddy read historical fiction together all the time. But I wanted to walk you through the ones that I'm planning on reading. So the one that really started off this whole idea of this, like her doing a video for her, was the Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This is the first in this series, and it's a series that basically follows a bunch of couples, and it revolves around this book club where they all read like a romance, and it's supposed to help them in their real life. So this one follows a Nashville legend baseball player named Gavin, and his marriage is kind of falling apart. I think his wife throws around the divorce word and he kind of goes, oh God. So he goes to this group to read a historical romance, and hopefully it'll help him kind of win his wife back is the idea. So I'm very excited about this. I know that the series, I think there's 4 out at this point. Each follows like a different dude from this group, and this is just the first one. But she like freaking raves about this book and like sent it to me, and then I bought it like that month. So I've had it for a while, but I definitely bought it because of her. So that's really the one that like started off this list of like what kicked it off a few months ago when I was trying to plan this. So I'm excited to pick that one up. And then the one I think I'm actually going to start with is going to be Weather Girl, and this one is by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So this is one that I think she had the arc of last month because it came out in January, and really, really loved, and like basically like told me I needed to pick it up. So I'm really excited about this because it takes place in a news station, and I used to work in news. I know I've said that a couple of times on this channel when talking about this book, is that I used to work in news, and because of that I've kind of become obsessed with anything that revolves around it. And so this follows two people who work there, a weather woman or a weather girl and someone in the sports department, and they're trying to get their bosses together so that they can basically get more free time because their bosses are kind of overbearing. And then of course it turns into the two of them falling in love. And I do believe that our female does suffer with depression as well, if I remember correctly. So like there is some rep in here, which I'm very excited about. So I'm for sure going to pick this one up first starting tomorrow, but it's giving me all of the best vibes, and honestly all I needed to know was the weather person. So there it is, I've picked it up. And then the next one is one that like I kind of had in the back of my brain, but I wasn't fully set on it until she had read it, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll actually get around to it. So I ended up picking up If the Shoe Fits, and this is by Julie Murphy. This is the author who wrote the Dumplin' series, and this one is a Cinderella retelling set around kind of like a bachelor setting. So we have our main character Cindy, who went to design school. I believe she specifically went to school to design shoes because she's obsessed with shoes. She's got a huge shoe collection. And so she ends up moving back home because she doesn't have a job, and her mom is the executive producer of this bachelor type show, and a contestant drops out last minute, and so she ends up kind of being forced into the limelight. And she's like, oh, this will be great, I'll like put my name out there and like people will start seeing me and like maybe I'll get a job from this. But she's the first plus size contestant and the only plus size contestant at this point, and so it's, I think, her experience on the show and like being that plus size almost role model of sorts for certain people. So I think it's gonna have a lot of really good conversations, and I'm very excited about it. Also retellings, all I really needed to know. The next one that I'm hoping to get to is going to be Heidi's Guide to 4-Letter Words. I'll put it up here because it's by two authors and I can't remember off the top of my head who they are, but I'll pop it here. And this is a Audible included audiobook, which was great, so I didn't have to go out and like buy an audiobook for this. But literally Taylor told me about this when I was planning this video. Like I didn't tell her that I was planning this video, but I kind of hinted at it a little bit. And so she was like, this is one that you need to read. It was really funny. The audiobook's amazing. And then literally last week she like reread it and sent it to me again and was like, you have to read this. So I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't have a physical copy of this or an ebook copy, but I do have the audiobook, like I mentioned, on Audible. So I mean, I'm picking it up because of her, so like it counts. But I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I honestly have no idea what this is about. Like, this is the one that I know the least about, to be honest, because I haven't even looked into it, because apparently the audiobook's amazing, and like I trust her enough with that. So once I get into this one a little bit, or closer to reading this one, I'll do a little bit more digging and then actually come up with like a synopsis of this for you guys. But this is another kind of like contemporary romance that it looks like fun, okay? And the last one that I would love to get to, but if I don't, depending on time, I won't be crazy upset, and that is Wall Street Titan. And this is a billionaire romance, and it sounds like just hijinks are going to ensue because our main male lead is a billionaire, and he's kind of looking for that perfect woman to be by his side, to kind of like fit right into his life. And then it follows our main female lead, who is basically like, her life's crazy at this point. Like, she's a total mess, and I think she fakes an account on a kind of like Tinder type of dating site or dating app, and he ends up matching with her, and so she has to like put on this persona of being this like super put together person, and she's like a total mess who is basically a cat lady. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'd love to get around to it. I do have this one on my Kindle, so hopefully I can get around to this one as well. But this is the one that, like, if I run out of time, I'm not going to be crazy upset because I'll still get to it at some point. So those are the plans for the next however long this video is going to be. I'm going to start with Weather Girl first. Like I mentioned, it's the one out of all of these that is calling to me the most, which is saying something because all of these are calling to me, but this is the one that's calling to me the most. So I'm going to pick this one up first. I've heard great things. I haven't read anything by this author. I did at one point have a NetGalley arc of the X Talk, I think, which was by this author, and I never actually got around to it. So we'll hopefully get to that this year as well. So I'm going into this not knowing anything about this author, but it's about news, and that is all I needed to know. So I'll come back when I've started this and actually have some opinions about it. Hello! It's been a couple of days, but I thought that I would come on here real quick and kind of tell you my thoughts so far in this book. So I'm obviously still reading Weather Girl. I'm a little over like halfway. That's where my bookmark's at. I'm on chapter 20, about 194, 95 pages into this book. There are, I think, 33 chapters, and it's about 330 pages. So a little over halfway, and I'm really loving it. I've already like started tabbing like the crap out of this book. And I'm really enjoying this. It is nostalgic for me because of the whole news thing. So a lot of the situations they're in, I like relate hard to, or like they're describing their newsroom and it's very similar to how my old newsroom was, and so I'm just like envisioning them in my old studio, and it's really fun. But I'm really enjoying the relationship that's developing between our main characters. We've got Ariel, and Russell. And they basically are trying to get their two bosses together. So the news director and then the head meteorologist used to be married, and they have since gotten a divorce and basically just fight in the newsroom all of the time and make the newsroom not fun. And so the two of them drunkenly one night, basically they're at like a Christmas party for the station, and they both get drunk and are basically like joking about the fact that they should get them together, and then they would both have time again, and like Ari would be able to get time with this meteorologist that she's grown up loving and wants to actually like better her career, and she's getting like no feedback from this lady because all she's doing is fighting with the news director. And then Russell is only doing like high school sports at this point, and so he wants to get better stories and like higher stories, like more college stories, more just like a little bit higher on the totem pole as far as the content that he's actually creating. So the two of them get together to basically like get their bosses together, and it's actually quite cute. And then the two of them obviously start building a connection. But I'm interested because our main character has depression and her mom has depression, and it's kind of like she's watching her mom her entire life go through this thing, and so she has a very strained relationship with her mother because of that, whereas Ari didn't realize this until I think about college age is when she got a diagnosis and actually started going to therapy and started taking medicine for it, and things like that. And so she seems like she's like on the right track. and her mom has gotten zero help at all. So it's this strained relationship, seeing that, and then also like her depression and her taking like antidepressants and things like that has been a real stickler in past relationships. She doesn't really tell anybody about them, and she just tries to be this super bubbly person because she knows that like she's basically seen her mom's boyfriends in the past, and even her dad, just kind of peace out because her mom has been so like had really bad days, and so because of that the guys just kind of peace out. So she tries to put on this facade of the weather lady of like, I'm super positive all of the time. So it's really fun to see her and Russell kind of open up towards each other, because Russell's got some stuff too. We don't know what it is, but I think there's a few more things that we're going to learn about him. But he also has a kid, and he had a kid relatively young, so he's very like hesitant about telling people at the station that he has a kid because he had his kid so young. So it's really interesting seeing these two kind of, I don't want to say broken people because they're not, they're pretty content with who they are, but see these two people who have never really trusted many people in the past before kind of come together. And I don't know what's going to happen. There's going to probably be a big blowout at the end, and they're going to have a giant fight or something, because that's what usually happens in romances. But so far I'm really enjoying it. I really love Rachel Lynn Solomon's writing. I think it's so funny. Like, I've tabbed quite a few spots that I just literally like cackled out loud, just because of like how she phrased something, or like our main character Ari's internal monologue. It's just really, really funny. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying this. I think the writing is fantastic, and I can't wait to continue. This might be a slower process this week because I've got some work things that I need to do, focus on this week. So I'm hoping to get through this relatively quickly, so I can move on to some of the other ones in this video. But I'm loving this one. I would be really, really surprised if this was not a 4.5 or a 5 at this point, just for like the writing and the character development alone, because like while this is a very fun rom-com of a story, there's extra layers on top of it of this realness between our characters, and I just really appreciate that in a book. And I don't know, I love it a lot. So I thought I'd just tell you my quick thoughts on them. I don't know where we're gonna go from here because there's still quite a chunk of the book left, and it seems like we're already where the book wants to go, if that makes sense plot-wise. So I'm very curious what twists and turns are about to happen. And I'm ready for that big scene that I know we're gonna get it between Russell and Ari, where we talk about Ari's depression and like where she kind of explains it to Russell, because obviously that's going to be a big part of their relationship, because it hasn't been a big part of any of her past relationships. So obviously it has to come up. Obviously they're going to talk about it, and I can't wait for that scene, because I love those scenes where everything's kind of laid on the table for our couples, and it's just heartwarming, you know? So I'm excited for that to come up hopefully soon, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. So yay, this was such a good decision. I finished it. I'm here to tell you that I finished Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and I loved it. I gave it 5 freaking flapping stars. It was so good. So all of my feelings that I just mentioned to you a little bit earlier today are the same. I loved a lot about this book. We had a lot of moments in this that I thought were really important and very profound moments between our characters. It does have all the fun romance parts, so like the dips and the turns and everything. I had a bitty itty bitty issue with the epilogue for like a very specific reason, which of course I can't share with you because huge spoilers. But like there's just something that like if I was getting married, I would not want that to happen at my wedding. If you know, you know. And that's literally the only issue I have with it. But it was so cute. I loved just the exploration of these two characters. I loved how real they were. I loved how adult they were. Like, this felt like an actual adult romance in the sense of these two people are talking about their problems. We're not going to let an issue just kind of like simmer. We're going to have a conversation about it. They were very adult about their relationship and things like that, which I really appreciated. They talked. Basically, communication was key, and you don't see that a lot. That's a big trope, is the miscommunication trope, or like just like generally not communicating. And it was really nice to see our characters do that. And I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. So 5 stars from me. Are we shocked? Taylor was right about this one. I loved it very, very much. And I want to continue reading other things by this author. So yes, this check, first one, 5 stars, was great. I think the next one I'm going to pick up is actually going to be the Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. I don't know when I'll pick this one up. It might be tonight, a little bit later tonight before bed. It might be in a couple of days. It just kind of depends. I'm not sure on this one quite yet, but this is going to be the next one that I pick up. I'm excited about this one. Like I said, this is the one that started off this project and the one that I've had my eye on the longest out of all the books on this list. So I'm very interested to see how this works. I think it's going to be cute and fluffy and also have like those conversations, because it's kind of a second chance romance of sorts, of like a man trying to win his wife back. So I'm very curious about that, and I'm also curious to see how this book club where they're reading these historical romances plays into it. And I've heard really good things about this one, so I'm excited about this one, and I think I'm gonna really enjoy it. So yeah, and it literally says right here on the back, the first rule of book club: you don't talk about book club. If that isn't the best line ever. I'm a little nervous about the fact that our main character is a sports guy, but our main character, like male lead in this one, was also a sports guy, so it might be okay. It just kind of depends. Like, the amount of sports that's being talked about might hinder my enjoyment, but with it being mostly following the couple and not him, I don't know. Anyway, that's just a couple of thoughts I have about this one. I will let you know when I've started it, give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm thinking. So far, I'm excited. I want to see if the series is for me, because there's a lot of books. I think there's 4 so far in this series. I'm not sure if that's the end of it, if there's going to be any more, but there's definitely 4 so far, and I want to see if this writer's for me, because they all seem like they're very interesting in their respective ways, and they all touch on deeper topics, so I'm just excited to dive into this one. So I'll let you know when I actually start this, my thoughts, like my beginning thoughts on it, and we'll see how it goes. Also, I love that there's a butt on this cover, just like, hello, sir. Hello! So, I hope you can see me okay. I know this lighting is not at all good, but I really did not feel like getting out all of my lighting to do just a very kind of quick update. So, it's gross and rainy outside and I'm working with what I've got. I have updates for you. It is Monday, and I just finished the Bromance book club earlier today at work, and I meant to come and talk to you guys about this actually like Saturday, because I'd made it a good like third of the way through this book. I had a couple of thoughts, not a whole lot of thoughts, but I had some, so I meant to come to you earlier and I did not, and then I finished this today. So I think I told you a little bit about what this was about at the beginning, but I'm not sure I went into any more details than just like the generic information. So this book follows Gavin, and he is a baseball player for the Nashville Legends in Tennessee, and he has discovered that his wife has been faking some stuff intimately, and he gets really mad and like kind of runs away, and so she throws the divorce word around and it kind of freaks him out. So a group of fellow players and other people in Nashville, both sports and political and stuff, have this book club that is termed the Bromance Book Club, and it's basically this club where they read romance books, whether it's historical, whether it's just contemporary. Like, I know the second book follows a spy novel that has romance aspects to it, so it doesn't have to be like a Regency book. It just so happens that this book does follow a romance, like a Regency romance, but it's they read these romances to better get in touch with their wives, girlfriends, women in their lives, so they can understand them a little bit better and kind of just dive a little deeper into who they are as people. And they're my favorite part of this book. I love this group of like big alpha male type characters that are so in touch with their feelings and like aren't afraid to like dig a little deeper. However, I despised Gavin for a very large chunk of this book. He was so annoying to me. I didn't like him at all. And it wasn't until near the end, I want to say maybe close to like 60% of the way through, where I started to like him a little bit more. I'm still not sure I love him, but he's definitely better. And it was really interesting seeing this relationship because it took some turns that I didn't expect it to, and it was really cool to see this group of guys just be there for him. Even though half the time they're calling him an idiot for doing some of the stuff that he's doing, they're still there for him, and that was really fun. So I love this group. I want to continue with more books in the series. I'm not sure if I want to go in order. So if you've read the rest of the series, let me know, because like the second book in the series follows my least favorite character in this entire series, and the sister of our main character's wife, Thea. So it follows her sister and this guy that I can't stand. And while I think it would be interesting to see this very, very alpha male kind of character soften in this book, I don't know. Like, he's not the one I care about. I want to know about the Russians story. I think his is the fourth book in the series. I'm very interested in that one. So I definitely want to continue with this series, but if you've read it, let me know if I can read it out of order. I feel like I can't, but maybe I can. I don't know. But I still really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. There's just some stuff with Gavin and a lot of like manipulation as far as the book he's reading goes within this book. So there's a couple of things that rubbed me the wrong way, but overall I still really enjoyed it. It had a very nice ending. I liked that sometimes in between the chapters we would get sections of the book he's reading. So this Regency romance, I'm trying to find a good one to show you. Yeah, here we go. So like between chapters you would get these Courting the Countess, which is the book that he is reading. You'd get like 3 or 4 pages from that book and how and it kind of relates to what's going on with Gavin, which is why that's the first book that he was given to read. And so I loved that. I loved that aspect of it, and the way that the audiobook worked is there was 2 narrators throughout this. So you've got the regular narrator who is doing like just the regular novel narration, and then you've got a narrator who's very British and is doing the bits and pieces that are from the book. So like, for example, there are parts in this book where it's not the sections of the book in between the chapters, but there's sections within these chapters of like Gavin reading certain bits, and so then the narrator will change to the British guy when it's quoting or something about the book. And I just thought that was really clever. I really liked that, but it was still quite good. I understand a lot of the hype that's around this book now, and yeah, I'm really glad that I read it. So yeah, 4.5 stars for that one. And then I decided to pick up one of the books that I don't physically have, which is Heidi's Guide to 4-Letter Words, I think is what it's called. I've got it on my Kindle. I can't remember who wrote it, but there's like 2 authors, which feels wrong because I think there's only one author and then there's a narrator, because it's on Audible, and it's not gonna tell me, because of course not. That would just be too easy. So it's Tara Savek and Andi Arndt, maybe is how you say it. They'll be up here. And I started this today just to say that I started it. I wanted to just get a couple of chapters in just to kind of make my way into the story. And I am on chapter 15, and I'm about 45% of the way through this book. This is my favorite so far. I adore this story. So we're following Heidi, and she's been a teacher her entire life, and she just got let go because they're having some issues in the school with like budgets and stuff, so they've had to let go of some of their teachers, and they're kind of in a hiring freeze. And so she is feeling a little stuck in her life. She's always been a teacher. Her mom was a teacher, so she was like, I've always wanted to be a teacher because her mom was a teacher, and she's never thought about what she actually wants to do with her life. And so she takes like an administrative, secretarial kind of admin job at a recording studio, kind of front desk, that kind of person. And it turns out that this recording studio primarily records audiobooks for smut books and erotica books, and she's very not exposed to that. She loves romance novels, but her romance novels she likes to read a lot of Amish romances where it fades to black. Like, I swear that's what she says in the book. And this is the first time she's ever been in this kind of situation before. And it's just so cute because this famous guy comes in to record an audiobook, and his wife actually writes some, and so she comes in to also record some bits, and they become really close, and she's helping her kind of like get out of her shell. But at the same time, Heidi has this equipment that they were getting rid of, and they said that, like, you can throw it away, you can take it home, do whatever. And so she ends up taking it home and starts a podcast, which is called Heidi's Discount Erotica. And so like there are bits of it where she's just kind of like word vomiting her life, and then there are bits where she's trying to jump out of her shell and read bits and pieces of romance novels to make her more comfortable with it. And at the same time, she is very much saying in this podcast that she has a huge crush on her neighbor, and what stems from that. And I think this is so well written. It is so funny. I think the girl who does the audiobook is very, very good. But it's also just written really, really well. And there are bits and pieces between chapters that are just her like transcripts of the actual podcast that she's putting out, and they're so funny. And just her situations when she gets in like conversations with this neighbor that she has a huge crush on, they're so funny, and yet they're also relatable, and I just love her to death. I want to hug her. Heidi's amazing. And so it's really a book about confidence, I think, and boosting your confidence and getting out of your comfort zone and like doing what you want to do and not just like hiding behind fear. And so I'm really interested to see where it's going to go from here, because like I can probably finish this tonight. If not, I will finish this tomorrow at work. And it's amazing. It's, like I said, my favorite of this series, or like of this video so far. I think it's so good. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm almost halfway through this one, and I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm gonna hopefully finish this one in the next couple. I'll finish it tomorrow for sure if I don't finish it tonight. But I'm not sure I will do. So I'll probably finish it tomorrow. And I love it so much. It's so good. I can't wait to see how it ends because like I have all of the butterflies. Like while I'm reading this, their scenes are so cute. I just want to keep highlighting and tabbing different parts of this story, and I think it's amazing. I legit love this book. Okay, so if it's not 5 stars, something has to go drastically terribly wrong for this to not be 5 stars, is what I've decided. Hello. So it's the next day, and I finished the book, so I thought I'd tell you about it. And I happen to be in the exact same spot with the exact same lighting because it's still gross outside. It's good fun. But I did. I finished Heidi's Guide to 4-Letter Words, and I gave it 5 stars. This was so cute. This is my favorite so far in this little video, and it is probably one of my favorites of the month, to be honest. It's so freaking cute to the point of like I tabbed so much of my ebook that I went out and I bought a physical copy. So it's currently on its way to me right now. Probably will get it before I'm done with this video. But like it was so cute. All my feelings are relatively similar to yesterday. Nothing much has changed. I loved seeing our main character kind of grow into her own, because like that's really what this is a project following our main girl as she makes this podcast, and it just shows like her coming into her own. And it's super cute, and it's very smexy at times, which I did not mind, but it kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes. I mean, she's reading these excerpts, so like I guess it makes sense. But there are just some scenes that you're like, oh. And then there's scenes that are so funny. Like there's a scene where her neighbor meets her parents for the first time, and that's just a scene in itself, and I adore it. But I also love seeing the connection between her and this neighbor, and as their relationship grows, seeing that, and really just seeing how much like he supports her, and wants to be there for her, and wants to help her like grow herself. Like she is usually really shy, and this podcast has kind of given her this way to step out of her shell. So it's super freaking cute, and I love it, and I will be rereading sections of this book over and over and over. I cannot wait to get my physical copy. It's so good. Like I adore it. I adore it because you have all the fuzzy feelings that you want with a romance. It has some really good adult scenes. It's got some really funny moments too, because just like her whole like thought process and like ramble spirals are the cutest thing ever, and I feel like very relatable. So 5 stars. This was fantastic. I'm not sure I would have picked this up. I mean, a couple of these books in this video so far I might have picked up later on, but this one is one that I'm not sure I would have ever picked up unless Taylor said, oh my god, read this. So this one was good. This one was very good. So that leaves, I think I'm going to only do one more to give this a round 4 books, instead of doing that 5th one, like trying to squeeze that one in. So I think we're going to end off on If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This is the first in a meant to be novel, and I discovered that actually like this is a series by like different authors, because there's a book that looked really interesting that I've actually pre-ordered by Jasmine Guillory that's actually like the second in this series. So it's just kind of a, I don't know what the series is, but this is the first one, and it's like a modernized reimagining of Cinderella. We've got our main character Cindy, who moves back home with her stepmother right after design school, and she can't get her kind of like, she can't get a job, she can't really get like any kind of business off the ground. She's a shoe designer, and her mom is the executive producer at a bachelor style romance show, and one of the contestants drops out and she kind of gets forced into the limelight. And I'm very curious to see where we're going to go from here, because it's going to have a lot of conversations, I think, about being, because our main character is plus size, and being plus sized in kind of the limelight, and what that means, and then her finding love, because like look how cute they are on the cover. That's adorable. So I don't know what I'm getting into with this one, but I'm hoping to start this one maybe tomorrow. I might start it tonight, we'll see. I haven't decided yet, just kind of depends. But that is my plan, is to take on this one next. And I love a good retelling, so I'm not at all upset. Now, I've never read anything by Julie Murphy. She's done a few YA, she's done some middle grade, and I believe this is probably one of her first steps into adult, maybe. But I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be super cute, and let's see how it goes. So yeah, we're going to pick this one up next, and I'll come back to you when I've read a little bit and have some thoughts, but I'm excited. Hello! So it's been a couple of days since I spoke to you last, but I thought it was about time I sat down and wrapped up the last book and actually this entire vlog, because we made it. We've come to the end. So a couple of days ago I finished If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It's been a couple of days and I'm having a hard time quite remembering my thoughts on that, which is probably not the best for this book. I gave it 4 stars. Like, it was a very cute book. I really liked the Bachelor style TV show adaptation to it. It was called like After Midnight, Before Midnight is what it was called. And I really liked that. I liked seeing this connection between Cindy and the suitor on the show, Henry. I liked their relationship and as it kind of grew. But it was very much like I just wanted to love Cindy. I wanted to hug her. She put herself out there, which is incredible, and I think that's really awesome, honestly. So there was a lot of actually really cute moments. I did tab some of it, not a whole lot, but there are a few tabs in here where like the moments between these two are actually quite cute, and I liked because the reason that Cindy's on the show is because one of the executive producers, or at least one of like the higher producers on the show, is like a kind of like a close friend, and she's kind of rooting for Cindy, and so it's really cute to see her and just kind of like get a behind the scenes look at The Bachelor, because a lot of the time we see stuff like this where it's reality TV shows and reality love shows like this, but we don't get a lot of the behind the scenes, and so in this one we got that. We got kind of a look at what's real and what's not real, and that's a big conversation in here. And also kind of just seeing those behind the scenes moments between our crew and like, you know, producers and cameramen and all of these, you know, people that we've come to love. I loved seeing Cindy in the fashion industry. I loved watching her give everyone kind of a different idea of what fashion is, because like there's a couple of moments in this book where like they're doing something, and for example at one point they're like dressing themselves and Cindy doesn't have a lot of options because the brand that they chose doesn't carry her size, and so she had to kind of like Frankenstein something together. And there's just moments like that where you can see this really different and tough look at the fashion industry from someone who is plus sized, but also seeing just how creative Cindy is as a person and kind of coming up with these different ideas and people's reactions to it. And there's definitely a lot of rep within here. We have side characters that are part of the LGBTQ community. We have a non-binary character. So there's a few bits here and there where you've got people where it feels not just like Julie was trying to like check off a list of, oh, I've got a gay character, oh, I've got like a trans character, like not like, it wasn't like that. It felt like these were very realistic people who just happened to be part of this community. And it was just really beautiful to see, and I honestly just really enjoyed it. There's not a whole lot to say. It's not the most amazing thing I've ever read. It's not something that's going to stick with me forever, but I did have a really good time reading it. It was fun. If you like that Bachelor style kind of show, and you like retellings and things like that. It was really cool to see all the little hints throughout this book about like Cinderella, and also just the family dynamic, because the family is very supportive of each other, and all the sisters love each other, and like the stepmom is there for Cindy, and it's really nice to see a Cinderella retelling where the family is nice to each other and isn't going out of their way to be jerks. It was, I don't know, there was just a lot of bits and pieces of this that I really enjoyed, and I'm so glad that I read it. So I did give this one 4 stars. So looking back on the week, I was able to finish 4 out of the 5 that I had planned, which I'm not upset about. And I've actually got my computer right here, so I'm looking to see like my ratings based on Taylor's ratings. So we started off the week with Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and I think we both gave this 5. I gave it 5 stars. She gave it 4.5 stars. So this was a success. And then we've got the Bromance Book Club, which she gave 5 stars to, and I gave 4.5 stars to. Can you see how like similar we are? Love it. So that one was a success as well. And then I got my copy of Heidi's Guide to 4-Letter Words. Isn't it cute? I'm so happy. And we both gave this one 5 stars. This was for sure my favorite of the week. And like, honestly, if I had only read this book, I would call this video a success, because like I would not have picked this up without Taylor, and it's now one of my favorite romances. So that one got 5 stars, and then If the Shoe Fits, which we both gave 4 stars, she gave 4.5 stars to, and I gave 4 stars to. So I call this a huge success. I think this is a really good indicator of how close Taylor and I are as far as reading tastes go. I was expecting it to be very similar to this, where either we rated it the same thing or we were like a half a star off, which is very true for these books. And I will continue to put her recommendations on my TBR. But if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts down below. I would love to know, especially if you've read something like Heidi's Guide, because I feel like not a lot of people know about this one, as well as Weather Girl, because that one's relatively new. So if you've read any of these 4, let me know your thoughts. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video of this chaotic last couple of weeks of me trying to read these romances. I love doing these videos, just showcasing people that I really like and books that I have picked up because of certain people, so this was definitely going to continue. But it was fun to do like one of my actual like real life kind of friends, and do someone who's also part of the book community, not necessarily Booktube. So if you have anybody, Booktube or Bookstagram or whatever, that you would like me to do in the future, make sure you leave them down below. I have a really long list, so I will add them to the list. Do not worry. If I did one every single month, I would be good for at least like 2 years. So I have quite a few coming, but let me know if there's anybody that you would really like to see, like a booktuber or a bookstreamer that you were just like, oh my god, this person is my favorite. Let me know that down below. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of it out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!